Ladies and gentlemen of the court, we have heard arguments for the appeal of the hearing for the product of the misstatement of and the
Did we write a
statement
prediction
I
for
have
this?
somebody I want you
for
to
the
meet after.
characterization of the
Okay?
lax
It's
foundation.
really important to me that you meet this person.
Let me be honest. Can we get a counter of how many times this court was objected? I'm gonna say we're gonna shoot for around 52. 52 times in which we heard objections. So great work. I want to thank both the prosecution and the defense for being so stagnant and pointed with their arguments, trying to make sure that they are in it and here to win it. So I'm giving props to both teams for that. I'm going to start how I do every case by reading the letter of the law verbatim, exactly how it is said, so that way we can all have an understanding of how the letter of law is stated.
Why is he looking at me?
Criminal possession of a government-issued firearm. The code reads,
Here we go.
it is illegal to possess a government-owned or issued firearm without being a duly sworn peace officer who is currently on duty or off duty. This includes the firearms that LEOs purchase for their sworn daily duties. All right, piggybacking off of that. So
I'm killing this
we're going to
bitch ass
talk
judge.
about the police procedure that was
If we
done
don't win
here
this
and
shit, I'm
whether or
fucking
not
killing
they
him.
were legal or not. The police procedure here, as testified to both Mr. Slacks and Mr. Gray, was that they responded to calls of a shoot. Or I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
If that's if that's the reason we
Mr.
lose,
Johnson.
I'm putting a gun on him.
Which he was a cop for. That police procedure that he did was that he responded to a shots fired call, an armed and dangerous call, a visibly dangerous and threatening call of a shots fired. They responded to that call. They proceeded to try to investigate the area, try to scope the scene out, and try to get more details. From there, the waters, they start to muddy because I have a bit of a confusing timeline. No timeline here by both the defense and the prosecution was ever adhered to. We jumped between several different moments, which is very crucial for establishing a timeline. I don't think that any merits of any timeline was met by either side here today. Because we have gaps, we have uncertainties and gaps within the timeline itself, which doesn't lead to timelines, which I just want to clarify does not mean to gaps in the actual charge and how it's being pressed today. But the timeline is showing some doubt. Specifically, I want to talk about in Johnson's testimony, where he said there was a solid 3 to 5 minutes in which he did not get any backup. But I also want it to be referred to that he also began a chase with another individual in a separate car. The timelines got so hazy and misconstrued that it was hard to follow within this case. I had to piece it together as best as I could, and I think for both the prosecution and
I don't think you chased anyone.
I think further in other court cases and other testimonies, what's something you should learn from this is to always establish a set timeline and to make sure that each and every single piece of articulation is being backed up.
How would Rami say that? There was no chase.
But we move to what did happen, which was a frisk was conducted upon Mr. K and Rami, but conducted by Mr. Gray, or sorry, Miss Gray. The police procedure in itself, I know it was testified to and argued against that the police procedure is underneath the fruit of the poisonous tree as it is not under the purview of the court of law. Okay, we do not consider police procedure into a criminal appeal as it relates to specifics that were being done. We do argue
I'm not going to jail. I did my
do
time.
think that there are some litigations here that could be met with a civil case. So I want to remind the courts
Okay,
here
he's telling us that we
today
have an option to sue
this could
civilly.
have potential grounds
We
for
can
a civil
sue
case to be heard.
That's huge.
And that is something that I would like to see happen.
No,
he wants us to sue in civil court. Sick.
Terry versus Ohio being mentioned, fruit of the poisonous tree being mentioned, due diligence not being met in the terms of the cop side, for the medical treatment, for the medical care being disrupted, all of that has no grounds here. This is a criminal appeal. This is not something that we're going to decide here today.
Yeah, but we can use that to establish the civil side. That's good.
Urge the fact that can be issued into a civil appeal. With that being said, we're going to move to any doubts that was the police or that the police provided. It is known that having this gun proves the letter of the law for a fact. We have that it has proof because we have a picture.
I'm planting a gun on this guy.
Of Mr.
I'm taking his job.
That gun. It was not corroborated against at all that he did not have the gun. We know that he has this gun, full form and factor. And I also would like to mention that in the appeal, it does say constructive possession. Constructive possession does not apply here because constructive possession, it more so relates to a person's property or premise. If it is found within the car, perhaps that is owned by him, or if it's found within a home or something, that falls into constructive possession. This is not constructive possession. This is actual possession of a firearm.
Is this what they do? It's fucking plant a what happens when I plant a gun on every judge?
Thoughts about constructive possession, I did not weigh in.
That's fine.
I also want to mention Murphy Braun's case that was heard as in terms of precedent. Precedent is something that we take pretty seriously here. Terry v. Ohio, I already mentioned, is a precedent. Fruit of the Poisonous Tree is a precedent. Miranda is a precedent. These are all things that we have decided upon ourselves here in the court that sets.
They don't have my DNA.
For how
I'll get their DNA on the gun.
Cases moving forward. It is note that Murphy's case is similar
what happened to Murphy
in ideology between this case and the last. However, there is a lot of exigent factors. There's a lot of answers that do not apply. Murphy's case, he was not found for a period of time. His timeline was different. Almost practically everything except for the fact that he had a gun on him was different. And I do want to point out that he is exonerated from those charges. That he in appeal, that was not heard into appeal, and so the appeal was granted. So that cannot be used as precedent any longer. So we move.
Do you have something mobile outside?
Excuse me, sir.
Oh.
Thank you. I do want to also mention Mr. Ramio Raman's testimony. I am personally very confused as to why Mr. Raman was not called upon to the stand by the prosecution. I thought that was an absolute missed opportunity. The testimony that Rami provided from the defense's end showed a lot of lack of answers. It showed a lot of do not recall. It showed a lot of can't remember. From what we had a lot of weird argumentation. We have all that. I did not take any of that into consideration, of course. But I feel like it was an absolute miss for the prosecution to not have Rami on the stand today. But at the same time, the charge is what we're working on. We have a bit of a shaky timeline, but we have absolutely fact that the letter of the law was proven. And we have virtually nothing for me that would not
Why
prove this
is it all letter of the law and not spirit of the law?
Mr. K
Why?
guilty of government firearm.
Why do I have a bunch of Republicans in the judiciary? A bunch of letter of the law Republicans.
What did he say? I can't even hear.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Not guilty?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Your Honor?
Hold on. Your Honor, I have a
Guilty is
question. I have a question.
Yes.
So, what happens when you get found with a PD gun on you?
Honestly,
Dumb fuck.
Honestly, go for it.
What do you mean, go for it?
Go for it, man.
He was just asking a hypothetical, Your Honor.
That's why he a judge. That's why.
Hey,
was
with
just
all
asking
due respect,
hypothetical.
fuck you. Fuck the whole PD. Fuck the whole legal system. You all a bunch of cocksuckers. You guys have lost the
Mr.
plot.
King.
Fuck you. Shut the fuck
He's
up,
talking
bitch.
right now, man.
You guys fucking suck dick. You've lost the plot. And there's just no justice here. They've proven they didn't do any proper investigation to find out where the gun was from. They were given names. They didn't frisk him. They didn't GSR him. They didn't do anything. They didn't fucking raid them. They didn't do shit. Your law sucks. The DOJ sucks. The whole council sucks. Everything fucking sucks. And that's all I have to say.
Second.
Oh, man.
Mr. K.
What, man?
Mr. K.
Man Crane?
Mr. K. Mr. K, Mr. K, stop running! Mr. K! Mr. K!
Ah, fuck.
Mr. K!
He's been tackled on the
Mr. K,
ground.
do
He's
not
right
run,
behind
okay?
us.
Running
You're
Fuck
resisting
y'all.
arrest.
other individuals tackling officers. If any of you tackles officers, you're gonna be beat by a nightstick. This is your one and only warning.
Hey, go abuse your power some more.
Taco, if you tackle me, I will.